Welcome to the emotional evolution of an MS warrior. My name is Paul Lima, and I have MS. I've done 3 video blogs, vlogs or vlogs, not sure how to pronounce this, about MS, mostly focusing on the physical aspect of it. And if you're interested in watching those, I will share a link later in this vlog. My first 2, I was pretty straightforward, just the facts, ma'am. In my third one, I confess I kind of teared up at times. I was talking about people who live with MS warriors and their reaction to it. In this one, we'll see how I am, because I want to talk about my emotional evolution, the emotional evolution of an MS warrior. It may be similar to yours. If you have MS or any other chronic illness, it may be different. If you're newly diagnosed with an illness like MS, you might find this emotional evolution that I went through enlightening. Not saying that you're going to go through the same evolution, but you'll see that there is an evolution to your emotional dealing with any sickness. Now, this vlog may be subtitled The Emotional Evolution of an MS Warrior from Anger to Acceptance. I was angry when first diagnosed with MS. I have accepted the fact that I have now accepted the fact that I have MS. However, that subtitle isn't quite true. I think a better subtitle would be From Anger to Acceptance, with occasional bouts of anger and depression. And notice the word occasional is in italics, not something that happens on a daily or weekly or even a monthly basis. But sometimes I still get angry about the fact that I am sick. I'm chronically ill. But I try not to take my anger out on anybody. In fact, we can drop the word try. I don't take my anger out on anybody. I feel it. I'm angry. I want to be healthy. I'm not. That pisses me off. But I don't feel that way all the time. Mostly I accept the fact that I'm sick. I mean, being angry doesn't change anything. So why waste my time, waste my life wallowing in anger? And occasionally I get depressed. I am not clinically depressed, but occasionally I get down. I feel down. Usually happens, we have a dog. You'll see an image of him soon. But anyway, if my wife walks him in the morning, sometimes I give myself an hour to just sit on the couch and feel like crap. Don't do that every day. But on occasion, I give myself permission to wallow in it. So initially diagnosed, as you will see, I was angry. I now accept the fact that I have MS, and I've had it for 22 years. Time helps. I accept the fact that I have MS. Occasionally I feel anger, and occasionally I feel depressed. This is an evolution. Now, if you have MS or any other illness, I want you to know that you're not alone. You have emotional issues, and in this vlog I'm talking about emotion. In my other vlogs I talked about the physical aspect of my illness, of our illness. You're not alone. You're not the only one who has emotional illness issues. Dealing with your emotions is a process. Don't expect to feel fine overnight if you're newly diagnosed, but you will feel better over time, or you will learn to feel better over time. Again, go ahead and wallow in it. What does it get you? It doesn't get you physically any better. But when you're first diagnosed, you don't know that. So you feel like crap, you feel angry, you feel depressed. That's understandable. You may be feeling that way right now. I'm saying that's understandable. Dealing with the emotional issues is a process. It's something you can get better at, you should get better at, you will get better at over time. MS is known as a snowflake disease. Just as everybody with MS has different physical symptoms, even if they have the same type of MS. And I talk about that in my other video blogs, the different types of MS. So everybody with MS has different physical symptoms, just like every snowflake is different. Everybody with MS also has different emotional reactions to their diagnosis and ongoing illness. So I'm not expecting you to feel what I feel, emotionally or physically. But you will feel something. You will have a physical reaction because MS is a disease that causes physical stuff to happen. And you will have an emotional reaction, depending in part on what you're like emotionally, no denying that, and also depending on the type of MS you have and the physical reactions you have. What I'm saying is allow yourself to feel what you feel and allow yourself to accept what you have. And again, I will tell you a bit about my process. So just as there are similarities to the physical symptoms, it's different, but there are similarities. You may have the same kind of physical issues, pain, headaches, fatigue, brain fog, and I could go on. In fact, in my other vlogs, I do go on. I suspect there are similarities to the emotional reactions to your diagnosis and ongoing illness. In other words, I'm sure we have had are having some similar emotional reactions to our MS. So there are differences and there are similarities. The fact is, you want to learn how to deal with what you have. I mean, what's the alternative? Curl up in a ball on the couch and just lie there? You can do that. I'm not telling you how to react. But what do you get out of doing that? Why do that? Why say this is the end? I'm not saying that you should like or be happy with what you have. I am suggesting that you need to dig deep to learn how to accept what you have, how to live with what you have. Hell, when I was first diagnosed with MS, I was an emotional mess. Sad, yes. Tears, yes. Angry, absolutely. Was the line I used. I said to my wife, dig a hole and bury me and get on with your life. I thought I was going to die. No doctor told me I was going to die, and people with MS tend not to die because of it. We live long lives. We're just physically ill. I was angry. I had this thing that was causing me physical pain, that was causing me to not work, not enjoy my life. That pissed me off. It made me sad. Dig a hole and bury me. An emotional mess. Kind of like dealing with death of a loved one. When dealing with the death of a loved one, you go through 5 stages. You can Google these stages. They're well documented. Denial, you're in denial that the person has died. And then you get angry that the person has died. And then you bargain, I would give up this to have my loved one back. And then you get depressed. Oh my God, so-and-so is dead. I feel so bad. And then you accept that the person you loved is missing. You go through these stages. When somebody dies, you can't move right to acceptance. You have to go through the stages. And with dealing with MS, there are stages you go through. I went through the first 5 stages. Denial. Ironically, this was before I was diagnosed. I was having physical symptoms. And I was saying, I don't need to see a doctor. These will go away. I was denying that I was sick. And then I got my diagnosis. God, was I angry. And my wife Lynn will tell you, I was an angry man. Now, it's not a straight line. You go through the same 5 stages, but not in the same way. I was angry, but I was depressed. So I was going through 2 of those stages at the same time. Bargaining? Oh my God, I'm not a religious person, but I think I prayed. I said, God, I will give you anything if you get rid of this disease. I was bargaining. Didn't get me anywhere. I was still sick. I think I have now accepted the fact that I am sick. And in fact, I think quite some time ago, I have accepted the fact that I have MS. I have learned how to live with it. I have MS, but MS doesn't define me. I accept the fact that there's stuff I cannot do. There are things I cannot do. I feel like my MS has caused me to retire prematurely. I'm 65 years old. In theory, that's the age at which one retires. But I've been a freelance writer and trainer, and I wasn't going to retire until I couldn't speak, couldn't stand in front of people. Well, guess what? I now cannot stand in front of a group of people and speak to them. Well, maybe I can do it for 5 or 10 minutes. I can do it sitting on my butt here as I am now talking to my computer, but I can no longer train. And I can no longer write. You know, if you're a client, you want me to write, I got to meet with you. I got to listen to what you're saying. I have to absorb it, and then I have to produce the document you want. I suppose if you held a gun to my head, I might be able to do that, but I have great difficulty doing that. I don't like it, but I accept the fact that this is my life. Again, not a straight line. There are times when I still get angry. There are times when I still get depressed. I don't blame me, and I don't strike out at other people. I allow myself to wallow in my feeling for a few minutes, for an hour or so, and then I get out of it and get on with my life. So you will go through stages. Denial. I'm not sick. I know I'm feeling these strange tingles, and I have this fatigue that causes me to pass out for an hour, literally, not fall asleep. I'm talking blackout. But I'm not sick. Oh, I guess there is something wrong with me. I should see a doctor. What? I have MS? God, what's MS? I'm going to die. Holy shit, I am so angry. I am so depressed. Can I do anything to get rid of this? Can I change my life in any way? Can I give up something? Okay, we have to accept the fact that we're sick. This is what we are. This is what we have to deal with. Not a straight line. You go through stages. You will go through your stages. But what I'm saying is do your best. Work as hard as you can to get to acceptance. Because when you're in the other stages, it interferes with your life. You don't get on with living until you learn how to accept what you have. Once you accept it, you can step back and say, okay, this is what I have to deal with physically. So what can I do about it? What can I do with my life? This is something I'm doing with my life. As I will tell you later, I've written a whole bunch of books as well. I do the occasional webinar in terms of training. I'm a business writer, promotional writing trainer, and I do the occasional webinar. I can sit in my butt, talk to my computer. And hey, if there's a group of people listening in real time, so be it. They're learning, I'm training. But my life has changed dramatically. I can be pissed off about it. I can be angry about it. I can be depressed about it. Or I can understand it and accept it. Those are my choices. If anybody knows a different choice, you'll see my email address later in the vlog. Feel free to email me and tell me what my choices are. as far as I can tell, those are my choices. Deny it, get angry about it, be depressed about it, continue to bargain about it, or simply accept it and live as best I can with what I have. When I was first diagnosed, I couldn't shut up about it. At least that's what my wife tells me now. I would be talking to her, I'm sick, I feel this way, I feel that way, I can't do this, I can't do that. I wouldn't shut up about it. There is an irony in that I didn't want my wife to tell anybody about my MS. It was like something that she knew and I knew, but I wouldn't let her tell anybody. I was ashamed. I felt like it was my fault. I am here to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, if you're sick, it's not your fault. Okay, if you take a whole lot of strange pills, drink a lot of booze, eat really bad food and get sick, maybe that's your fault. But MS, sorry, there was nothing I did that brought this on. But I was ashamed about my MS. And I said to my wife, you can't tell anybody about this. I was sad. I was depressed. I was angry. And I was ashamed. And quite frankly, I had to learn that my MS was not my fault. There's nothing to be sad about, nothing to be depressed about, nothing to be angry about. And I had no reason to be ashamed. It was not my fault. But when first diagnosed. So it's an evolution. You go through stages. And I'm not saying you're going to go through the stages I went through, but if some of this rings true for you, understand you're not alone. It's what most of us go through. When I was first diagnosed, I forgot that Lynn was dealing with a sick husband. She needed to talk to people, but I wouldn't let her. Fortunately, I eventually realized this, that she needed to talk to people, and I said, talk away. It was about a year and a half into it. And I remember waking up one day and saying to her, you want to talk to your friends, you want to tell them I'm sick, go ahead. The fact is, her talking wasn't going to make my MS any worse. She could talk to anybody. I still have MS. She doesn't talk to people. I have it. We're dealing with it alone, in isolation. She talks to people. It's going to enable her to better deal with it. So my MS isn't getting any worse. She's better able to deal with it because she needed to express her feelings. I thank her for understanding that I had to get there. I had to go through the process before I could say talk away. I had to learn how to accept what I had before I could say to her, yeah, talk to people. You need to talk to people. People will listen to you. They will empathize with you. They will hug you. They will help you. They will give you emotional help. And the fact is, I'm getting weaker. I need you to be as strong as you can be. Emotionally and physically, her talking to people enabled her to better deal with me. And I stopped talking about it. I mean, for God's sake, I'm sick. Do I want that to be my life? Do I want to simply talk about the fact, I'm sick, blah, blah, blah. What a life, what a dull, boring life to do nothing but talk about your sickness. But I had to initially, to help me come to terms with it, to deal with it, to accept it. It is a process. So I was a bit of a jerk. I was a bit of an a-hole about it. I admit that. And hey, if you're being that way, I understand. I hope this video helps you dig deep, though, and to understand that you have to learn how to accept what you have. Not saying you're going to watch this video and say, oh, there we go, I feel better about my MS, I accept it. No, it's a process, and you've got to go through your process. This video may help you shortcut a little bit of what you have to go through. Missing aspects of life. What we miss is different for each of us with this bizarre disease. And MS is a stupid, strange, bizarre disease. I don't moan at what I miss anymore. I miss it, but I don't moan and complain about it, because pining, moaning, and complaining doesn't change a thing. I accept it. I accept that there are things that I cannot do. I'm not happy about it. Please don't confuse acceptance with joy and happiness. I try to make the most of life as it is now. Now I try to make the most of life as it is. In the beginning, I had difficulty doing that, and I'm here to tell you that I had difficulty doing that. Anger, depression, tears, and yelling. That was me. I look back at me and I think, what a jerk, what an idiot. But I also look back at me with a degree of sympathy. I understand. Getting to acceptance has been an evolution. You're given this diagnosis, you have MS. For most of us, we don't know what that means. We don't know what MS is. Even if our doctors tell us, it's difficult to hear what your doctor's saying. And I'm not blaming doctors, but a lot of them aren't good at telling you what the implications are. So you have to learn. You have to go through it. And the thing about MS, especially if you have what's called RRMS, recurring remitting, I think that's the name. When I don't have it in front of me on the slide, I sometimes forget. It comes and it goes. So you think you're better, and then suddenly you're not, and then you think you're better, and suddenly you're not. So just like physically you're on this roller coaster ride, emotionally you are too. You have to learn how to accept it. Or not. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you what I had to do so that I could get on with my life. I am telling you that if you don't accept it, it will be difficult to get on with life. And I'm not saying snap my fingers and you'll accept it. Acceptance is an evolution. You got to go through what you got to go through to get there. So what about you? Hey, look at that. I just noticed a typo in the word about. Oh, well. And I've been a writer for like 45 years. Just because you've heard about my emotional evolution, I don't expect you to reach acceptance. But understand, please understand, that's what you are trying to get to. Otherwise, you wallow in anger, depression, and sadness. Each of us who is sick must go through their own process, their own evolution. You have to go through your process, your evolution, as I had to go through mine. What I hope is that hearing about what I went through makes it a bit easier for you to go through your process. You're still going to have to go through it, but I hope hearing about it makes it a bit easier for you to go through your process. Just understanding that there's a process ahead of you may make it a bit easier to go through that process. So what I have post-MS, and that is me 20 years ago. That guy in the white shirt has MS, with my child, with my wife. You look at me, you think, yeah, he doesn't look sick. He is physically sick and an emotional wreck. But I needed to keep it together for me and for my family. I mean, what's the point of having a family if you're going to strike out in anger or curl up in a ball on the couch in depression? what's the point of having people in your life? Lynn wanted a dog, we got a dog. One of the best things we did, and I know there are some people with MS who, if they had a dog, couldn't walk them, couldn't deal with it. I understand that. I am fortunate, though my symptoms, and I don't want to go on and on about them in this video blog, my symptoms allow me to walk. So when we first got the dog, I was still doing some work. Lynn would walk him in the morning, I would walk him in the afternoon, get out of the chair and walk. And I think it was good physically and emotionally for me to be able to walk the dog. That's one of my favorite pictures of Lynn and our dog, Cole. Sadly, Cole passed away. We took a year off, and then we got another dog, Quinn. Quinn is too big to be a lap dog, but he doesn't know it. We were at a park, and he jumped up on the bench and sat on my lap. I gave my phone to somebody and said, "Can you please take a picture of this?" I'm so glad I got this picture. Makes me smile every time I see it. Makes me feel good. You need to do things that you can feel good about. I walk Quinn sometimes twice a day because of my physical infirmities, Lynn is taking care of the house. There's more on her shoulder. So I do what I can do within my limitations. And I can still walk. Yes, I walk with a cane, but I can still walk them. And we go for great romps, hour and a half in the morning, hour and a half to 2 hours in the afternoon. Out of the house, moving my legs, getting fresh air. I think it has helped me physically and mentally to be able to walk the dog. If you can't walk a dog, what I'm suggesting is you find your equivalent. Creating these video blogs helps me mentally to be able to talk about this. Remember, this is the guy when first diagnosed, wouldn't talk to anybody. I was ashamed. Now I'm telling the world, hey folks, I have MS. I'm sick. I'm physically ill. It helps me emotionally to be able to talk about it. I wish it would help me physically, but at least it helps me mentally, emotionally to be able to talk about what I'm dealing with. One of my favorite pictures of Quinn, Lake Huron, sunset, when enjoying the water. Anyway, I have more MS vlogs. They're online at www.paullima.com/PWYC. Now I have some pay what you can webinars there. My MS vlogs are not pay what you can. You don't pay a damn thing. My first one is almost everything you need to know about MS. You hear me talk in detail about MS, an illness that I've had now for 22 years, what it is, why it is, and various effects and impacts it has on people who have it. Me and my MS, a bit about what MS is and the types of MS. There is some repetition from the first one, and a lot more about my 20 years with MS. What I can, but mostly cannot do. What I try to do and what I can do, how I dig deep to do what I can do. And MS and nothingness. In the first two, as I say, it was just the facts, ma'am. Talking like I'm talking now. I broke down several times in MS and nothingness. So if you don't want to see a sick man blubber, skip the video. But if you want to see how a sick man makes something of his illness, and how other people, healthy partners of sick people, make something of what their partner has, watch the vlog. It's at paullima.com/PWYC. I've written a book, Everything You Need to Know About Multiple Sclerosis. Needs a little updating in the medication area, but otherwise I think it is a very factual book, not trying to sell you anything. The book isn't selling you on any meds, on any way of living, on any diet, but it tells you about meds and way to live and diets. And I'm not trying to sell you the book. If I could afford to give away copies of the print book, I would, but I can't But if you send an email to msandmebook@gmail.com, msandmebook@gmail.com, put MS PDF in the subject line, and I will send you a PDF of everything you need to know about multiple sclerosis. I have an illness I can barely pronounce. If you're newly diagnosed with MS, I think you might find the book of interest. So that's everything you need to know about MS. Free PDF, email msandmebook@gmail.com. If you're interested in books that I've written, go to paullima.com/books. You'll see my memoir, The Accidental Writer. Didn't know the rules of grammar, became a writer, had a vasectomy, became a dad, liked cats, became a dog lover, and I suppose it should say, grew up relatively healthy, other than having my appendix out, became an MS warrior. I think I'm an accidental everything. But that book and a bunch of books on writing, the business of writing, business writing, promotional writing, writing for the web are available at paullima.com/books. I'm not expecting you to run out and buy anything. In fact, if you want the PDF of The Accidental Writer, if you actually want to read my memoir, send an email to msandmebook@gmail.com with the subject line PDF memoir, and I'd be happy to send you a PDF of my memoir. So if you go to paullima.com, PWYC, you'll see a number of pay what you can videos. It's something I can do. I can sit in front of the computer and talk. I used to train. I'm turning my training session, when I have the energy, my training sessions into videos. Not asking people to pay up front for them, asking them to watch them, and if they get anything out of them, pay what you can. In fact, you're watching this webinar. If you see an interesting video that's pay what you can, feel free to take it at absolutely no cost. The fact is you don't have to pay up front, so you can take it, and then just feel free not to pay anything. I'm having fun doing them. They are something that I can do. So that's it for me, Paul Lima, 1954, saying goodbye. The emotional evolution of an MS warrior. Paul Lima, I have MS. I've had it for 22 years. My emotions have evolved over time. I have gone from denial, anger, depression, to acceptance, with, a little bit of anger, but I don't take it out on anybody. I just feel angry, and I allow myself to wallow in it for maybe an hour or so, and not daily, not weekly, not monthly, like just once in a while. I allow myself to be depressed about what I'm dealing with occasionally, once in a while, and I do it when there's nobody home. So I wallow in it, feel like crap, depressed about what I have, and then I get on with acceptance, which enables me to get on with life, which enables me to do this video blog. Thank you for listening. I wish you well. I hope you are as healthy as you can be. Thanks again. All the best. Take care. Bye.